There's bad radio, good radio, and chaotic radio. In that order.
Starting our first show with Women Talking Football, which is a show about how women can impact and influence the world's game. I'm Carrie Taylor, your host, and just wanted to start off by saying all thoughts are my own. This is Carrie Taylor speaking, not Carrie Taylor DOC, Carrie Taylor coaching instructor, because just want to be open and honest about things within the world of football/soccer. So, my buddy here, Dutchie on my left.
Good evening. Welcome. First of all, welcome to Chaotic Radio. It's a pleasure that you're here. You are bringing something different to the station. We used to have a soccer program, or let me get this right, a football program called Football Matters, which unfortunately is not on the air right now. And we miss it. We miss talking football on the station. And we had a big following. There's a lot of... We know how many football fans are out there, don't we, Carrie?
Absolutely. And speaking of that, tonight's show, I wanted to kind of start off and talk about the club soccer world. And I had some stats here that I pulled off the internet, and I don't know how true they are because you never know what you get on the internet anymore. But there are 4.1 million registered youth players in the U.S.
Wow.
And they said there was over 9,000 clubs, which is... kind of crazy. Oh, we already have a phone call, which is amazing.
It is, because, I've got shows that go on for months and no one bothers calling me, so...
Well, I kind of set it I kind of set it up beforehand. So, calling in is my good friend, Dallery Dalton. She is a female A-licensed coach and director of coaching at Soul Soccer Club in Santa Barbara. Is she on the line? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Dallery, go for it. Can I hear you? Hang on. We're just checking the volume here a little bit. So we had a little technical difficulty, which is awesome for the first show. So we roll with it. Be flexible. Okay. So while they're sorting that out, nope, I can't hear. So while they're sorting that out, we can...
We just carry on. I mean, we'll I know me and Mike. We had a technical problem the other day. We thought we'd sort it out. You've had phone calls all night, though, right, Mike?
Yeah, we had a couple calls earlier, but let me test the phones. I'll let you guys do your thing.
Okay, no problem. We can roll with it. We can talk a lot about club soccer. So, Dutchie.
I think I found the answer. She hung up.
She hung up.
That's what happened. Okay.
So, anyways, club soccer. You've been involved how long in club soccer?
Oh God, in California since 2009, but all over the place. I started in Michigan, and that was kind of my introductory into the club world. And it's amazing how every state is different. And when I moved to California, I kind of said it was soccer on steroids. So. What's your take on that, being not from California either?
It's the only state that I've been involved in soccer in, and it's crazy how many players play. I mean, I'd never seen. I mean, coming from England, you think you're coming from, the heart of the game, But I don't know. There's nowhere I know out there that's got 25 fields that play from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Okay, so we have the phone call back. So hopefully Dallery's on the line. Can we hear? We good? Dallery, you there?
I am.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in. So I'm learning the system, so we'll figure it all out. So, Dallery, I just wanted to, have you on the show and kind of talk about your soccer club and give us some background on yourself as a coach and a director, and tell me a little bit about why you started Soul Soccer Club.
Thank you for having me. It's really excellent that you're doing this, and congratulations on your first show. I started Soul Soccer Club a little more than 3 years ago because I was working at a club in Santa Barbara. I just finished my doctorate, and I had been in a cave writing and thinking about coaching and stuff, and I said, I need to get back on the field.
Right.
And this position opened up, and I just said, I'm too lucky. But my role in the club just got moved back and back and back into more and more administrative positions and more. It was clear that I wasn't, going to move within the club, that the hierarchy within the club was going to keep me personally from advancing. But I also saw that the club's attention to the girls' side was
lacking.
Oh my God! It was grossly underrepresented. It was just, it was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. And every time I asked the question, I was met with a lot of defensiveness. But with as soon as the Boys Development Academy came through, it really, it just went to one extreme to the next as far as the attention on the boys' side, but all of the finances were coming from the girls' side.
Right.
But because they were the ones that were buying into the system that they had in place and paying the fees. And so as I was just asking more and more questions, I was also noticing that the girls were dropping off like dramatically, and it was starting younger and younger. And I was only there a year, and I was seeing a dramatic shift in the community. And so I took a break, and I took a few months off, and I said, "Can this happen?" And I started asking around in the community about where the girls were and where they were playing and what opportunities they had, and it just seemed like it just was a really good time to start something for the girls and have it be specifically focused on the girls. So that was 3 years ago, and we started with 2 teams and 25 girls, and we're now 3 years later at 100 girls, and running several side programs like futsal and clinics and stuff. So I think each year it's growing, but there's certain limitations that we're certainly facing that and challenges that we're going to have to tackle as we grow. But we're growing, and I think we're making it possible for more girls to play, which is the key here. And also, I think we're focused. Also, what I noticed in the other club that I was working at, there I was the only female coach, and when I was brought in, I was. Yeah, another more shocking, right? I was brought in and I replaced the only other female coach. And when I submitted my application, the director of that club sent me a note and didn't say anything, salutation, thank you for sending your resume in. He just replied to me, "Are you a male or a female candidate?"
Interesting.
So I think that my role was to replace the other female candidate and make sure they had a female in the club, and so I saw that there was also a need to support women coaches, which is a major part of our club. Is that we intend to mentor and bring female coaches through the ranks, not just female players. So.
Well, that's absolutely amazing, and the growth in the 3 short years, that's definitely commendable. And can you kind of talk about where you get your players from and how you're impacting like the diversity issues that are in the game? I mean, not only with the coaches, but where your players your player base comes from.
Yeah. So. We do have the traditional players, which come from an AYSO background. So they start off recreationally, and they play, as early as 5 years old. It's shocking to me that they start that young and even younger. And then but they start to go through the AYSO system, and they go through the all-star programs, and they become increasingly more competitive, and the girls and their parents start looking for something more stable in terms of their coaching environment, and something with the coaches that are more that have a background in coaching and have a background in soccer, and so they start looking. So there's the traditional pipeline of AYSO players or players who start off recreational and then want to play in a more competitive environment. But there's another place that we look, and that is through in kids that we would be their introduction into competitive sport, but not the introduction into sport that they really got introduced through family and cultural influences. So that's predominantly the Hispanic community in the area,
Right.
And those girls come out of playing with their brothers or playing with other boys. So there's a couple of leagues in our area that are all boys teams, and they're only on Saturdays, and some of them practice, but it's really fun to watch. You go out on a Saturday, and it's just all the families are out, and they stay around and watch all the other games. And I went out to these fields, and I said, because people had told me about these new leagues going on, and I said, oh, these are really neat. And I said, but where are the girls?
Right.
And people would say, oh, either they don't play, or there's just not any girls teams. And then a few of them would point out onto the field, and there would be on every team there would be at least one girl. Some had two girls. And so we started inviting those girls to play, and what's really great is they still play on those boys teams, but mostly because their uncle coaches and they're good players.
Right.
So their uncle says, you got to play with us. We won't let you go. And plus they love to play on the Saturday leagues, and it's a very community based experience for them. But then they really enjoy being around girls, and particularly as they get older, they're just more comfortable and they're more confident. So, and I think their parents see that, and they come out. But there's the problem, or the challenges with that are that is trying to find financial support for them. And so my first year starting this, I wrote a grant through Dick's Sporting Goods and their Sports Matters program, and the grant targeted specifically Hispanic girls, and so we were able to partner with Girls Inc. and work on, like, we had to, in order to get girls on these teams, we had to drive them. So I actually was the bus driver for a period of time in addition to their coach. And so that's kind of where we go, is we go to Girls Inc., we go and find them on boys teams, and then once we find them on the boys teams, then other girls start coming because they see, hey, I didn't want to play with the boys, but I do want to play soccer. So we're starting to get a lot more girls from communities that are typically underserved or underrepresented. So, but that's my long and short term goals, is to get into communities where we're getting more of the girls that are not getting as many opportunities to play.
Well, that's amazing and fantastic, and I think you said a key word there within that was inviting, and I think that's really important for, especially with some of the different cultures. I mean, California is a melting pot, and you can't always assume everyone thinks the same way about sports and girls and getting girls involved, and that key word is inviting and having it be open and seeking out people that are often marginalized or don't have the financial means to join the typical club structure that goes on out there. I know that piece is near and dear to my heart growing up in Flint, Michigan, which, is in the news today with all the water crisis and everything. But, some of the less socioeconomic, the advanced communities lose out on the opportunities to play youth sports these days because things are so expensive. So
exactly. And then also I think for us, because I try to do a lot of work around like the grant writing, around building our scholarship foundation, that some of the messages that have gone out to these communities is that it's expensive, and so the option isn't even laid out for them. So if I go up to a family and I say, hey, does your daughter want to come play? Their first reaction is, oh, no, we can't afford that.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm asking if she wants to play. Does she want to play? Because if I can get you in the door, and it doesn't cost me any money to have you come out to a soccer field and just play.
Right.
That I think we miss that. It's I think we monetize so much of all of these aspects within the club soccer that we don't sometimes just offer like free play opportunities to see if the interest is there and if we can spark a little interest. And then if that interest is there and other people who want to help support the community, such as things like the Women's Sports Foundation, Dick's Sporting Goods, all of these organizations who are anxious, and U.S. Youth Soccer Federation Foundation, whatever. They want to help, but they're looking for programs that are organized, and they're looking for kids that are playing. So I think sometimes we forget that we got to get that first step in, which is let's get the girls out on the field and spark their interest, and then once we spark their interest, now it's time to go find some funding, because all we have to do is show people how enthusiastic these children are, and then I think that touches people, and which isn't easy. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to find the funds, but I think it's easy to set up the options to play, just
Right.
to play.
Right.
It's that's really not hard. But the sustaining it and then building on it and making it something where they're growing in terms of their skill development, and they're getting the kind of options that the actual team formations and those kinds of things. That's the thing. That's the stuff that really is where the cost comes in, because that's a long-term thing.
I have a question for both of you,
Yeah.
ladies.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Do you think, because we lack women coaches in the game, in club, there's not enough? You just did an e-license with 8 or 9 this weekend, right?
Yeah, there were 36 candidates and nine women, which is a fantastic number, to be completely honest.
Do you think that if we had more women coaches in clubs, we would get more girls interested? And if there are women coaches within the clubs, should they be coaching the girls?
Ooh, good question. First part of that, I would say yes. There needs to be more women in coaching, and I think that we are finally now getting to the mentality that the parents can understand that women are good coaches and can do the job, and young girls need good female role models. And I think when they are exposed to a female coach, there's a different chemistry that kind of happens, and there's different synergies that go on. And women should be allowed and hired to coach boys. So I've had the opportunity of coaching a Division III college program, starting a men's program, which is a phenomenal experience. And, hats off to the College of Mount St. Joseph athletic director to be forward thinking in that. And within my club, I used to have a boys team, and I passed it along this year to a female coach. And it was amazing because the boys didn't think anything different because they had me for 3 years. So absolutely. That's my answer to it.
Mm-hmm.
Valerie, what are your thoughts on that?
It's I 100% agree. And then I would also say that when women coach boys, that the potential for shifting some of the broader attitudes about females, not only in leadership positions, but females in sport leadership positions will begin to change, because boys will start to see more women that are competent in the sport and knowledgeable about the sport. And when they start to see that, when they go out into the workforce and they've got a boss who is a woman, that might impact them. It might impact the way that we start to see women in leadership roles outside of sport. But inside of sport, it's going to change boys' attitudes. So as they go through the sport and stay in the sport and then become coaching directors or somehow decision makers, whether it's athletic directors and things like that, they are not going to come to it with as many biases that around women in sport. That's my, and so that role modeling that Carrie was talking about, it's to me it's so vital because it extends beyond the immediate team situation, but at the same time, those same messages are extremely important for women to be showing to the girls. So it is important, I think, to some of our efforts. I believe that a lot of our efforts need to be getting more women coaching girls so that we keep girls in the game longer, so that those girls become coaches and see themselves as coaches, so that then they can begin to, infiltrate the boys.
So how do we get more girls coaching? That to me, I hear what you said earlier, and I know there's a definite bias when it comes to clubs putting women in the higher positions and putting them in charge of their U18 boys premier teams, but why are there not more women involved? Because it's not, a lot of it is not that we don't want to put them there, they're not there to put there.
Well, I think a piece of it too, and I keep going back to this word of inviting. Those of us that are in positions of decision making and power, like myself as a female DOC, I almost feel it's like my job to find younger, players and current coaches and actually like pull them through and say, you can do this, or I will give you this opportunity and now it's yours to run with it. Because, the more doors and the more confidence that is built, then, it's gonna spill over. But, women think differently than men, and I go back to this story where I was with a friend of mine, and we were touring this building, and this kind of has nothing to do with soccer, but we were touring this building, and there was a doorway there, and the door was shut, and I stood there and waited for somebody from the facility to like open the door, and the guy that I was with just barged through the door, walked in, and said, "Carrie, what are you waiting for?" And I think it's similar to soccer, where guys kind of have the mentality of like, hey, I got this handled, I can do this, whereas women are kind of a little more, risk adverse. So, the more that we as, I consider myself a veteran in the soccer world now, I guess, the more of us veterans who can drag and identify and find younger potential coaches, it's up to us.
How many... Percentage-wise, you said there's 4.1 million youth players in the U.S.?
Yeah, And again, I don't know how valid that statistic is. I think it was from Wikipedia. So
So let's just take the 4 million. Do we know what percentage is girls and boys?
I think it's almost pretty evenly split.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If that's the case, because when I went into coaching 8 years ago, I was blown away by the amount of idiots who were coaching our players. You know.
Wait, 8 years ago, they're still there.
Oh no, they're still
out
there. Remember, we
They haven't
teach them.
gone
We
anywhere.
teach them together. You know,
They haven't gone
and it
anywhere.
blows me away that we're giving these coaches licenses to coach players, and in all honesty, some of them are nothing more than wreck dads who have gone to get an E license. You know, so when you do get a good girl that comes along, it makes you open your eyes straight away and go, right, we need to mentor her. We need to get her somewhere when she's going to go to the next level and the next level. The thing that I find when I come across a candidate who's a girl who's good is she's not just going to pass the E license. You know she's going to go to the D. You know she's going to go to the C.
Right.
There doesn't seem to be an in-between when the women come and do their licenses. They're either there as an administrator, or if they're there as a real coach, they're good. And I think that's because the ones who are not good enough haven't got the balls to go into that position, you know?
Of course we don't. Of course we don't have the balls, actually. Leave it to you to say that.
Bad choice of
That's
words,
okay.
I know.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
So yeah, we got the ovaries, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you know, I think sometimes we forget that the environment that people are coaching in is not one that is particularly
Friendly?
exciting. It's not friendly. It's
Friendly?
exciting. It's not. You know, it's like, so one of the things that I wanted to do within our club was I wanted to make it more collaborative, because we're already competing against these other teams, and so it's intensely competitive, and our status as a coach is being measured constantly by these these competitive experiences. And then you go into the one place that you should be improving yourself and getting better for those competitive experiences, and you're an island. You are competing with, all of a sudden, the same coaches in your own club, trying to, make sure that you're not a B team coach anymore, or you're not, as the woman who's got her A license or whatever, you're not being put with the U9 girls third team, because you're good at relationship building, and I put that in air quotes. And so to me, the structures of these clubs do two things. Number one, there's no mobility. There's not even mobility for men, for that matter. But the mobility it's extremely hierarchical, and there's they try to make up these positions like, oh, you're going to be the equipment manager, you're the field manager, so that we can give you additional jobs and stuff. But there's really no mobility for you to develop yourself as a leader or as a coach. So your lifespan as a coach is very short, and you're thinking, I got a family to think after. You're moving beyond the 20-something and thinking, like, this is not a career. I can't live on this. I'm not going to get health insurance. I'm not going to. There's so many issues. But then you also say to yourself, why do I want to go into that world where, the guys are, doing their quote unquote locker room talk, or they're demeaning each other, or they're demeaning people through their language, by saying, like, there was several incidences where coaches would say things like, "Oh, we all know that the B team coaches, they're just junior varsity teams." So you're sitting there, and you may be on the A team, but your colleague, your friend, is that, and you know that they're being belittled, and it's just not an environment. Even if you're not the one being belittled, there's a certain sensitivity and a certain empathy that we've learned as women, because team is important, but then you get into these highly competitive situations. So I feel like to get more women in, you've got to make that environment a little bit more user friendly. And I think more men would get into it. And I think the diversity of men would get in, and the better quality of men would get into it, because these would be men who would be open to suggestion, and improving on what isn't working for them.
Right. And I just want to interject, like within club soccer, I don't want to bash men because I love men. And there's plenty of allies of women in the game. Most of my mentors coming up were males because, I didn't see a lot of women coaching, but until I got to college and I was coached by 2 women, which was fantastic. But I think the key word is just making sure that, we look outside of who we look like, people that look like us. I mean, coaching directors tend to bring people in that kind of look like them. So, can we increase diversity? Those of us that are in positions of being able to hire within our clubs, we need to kind of open up our view a little bit and not just, hire the person that we know the best next door that looks like us. We need to be a little bit more diverse, and because with diversity comes difference of opinions, and you don't always want yes people, or people that think like you. At least I don't. I want people that challenge me within my organization to be a better coach, who have fresh ideas and say, hey, what about this or what about that. So question, I want to get on a hot topic that I think will get some
Do it. I like hot topics.
Some good stuff going. So, recruiting within youth soccer. How cutthroat is it in California?
Oh, it's bad.
Do we need to change it? What can we do? Can we do anything about it? What are your guys' thoughts on how? I know what my thoughts are, but I want to hear your thoughts on recruiting within youth soccer. Go at it.
I saw something on Facebook the other day, which from Surf in San Diego, where they said, you know what, we for the first time kind of thing, we know that this time of the year, kids are looking for other clubs, right? Other clubs are trying to recruit our players. Go play, go, and try out for those other teams, because we feel we have the best, and you can go and try out for anyone you want. And you'll still want to come back and play for us. As far as coaches, individual coaches going and recruiting players, to me, you've missed the whole point of being a coach. The whole point from the ground up is getting a kid ready and develop. The word development is overused.
That was my next question.
Right, and
development.
Not done. We don't. I say we as in Southern California, coaches don't care about development. They don't care. They care about winning. They care about winning only, and that's and because of that comes the recruitment. Now, if you're going out to recruit players so your team can continue, and you have enough players to continue playing because you've only got 14 and one got injured and one of them's leaving because, you know what, guess what? She's too good for my team, and I actually gave her away to another team because that's what will develop her. I'm great with that. But when you get coaches who are going out to recruit the best players and steal them or promise them college scholarships, if you come with me, we're going to be playing Premier, we're going to be doing this. To me, we have to come up with some kind of rules that stop that happening and punish the coaches who are doing it, because it's ruining the game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up in California, and actually there are states out there that have rules against, poaching players and sanctions against coaches. And I think in one of my friends coaches in Reno, Nevada, and they have actually a tryout window where they say, here are the dates that you can try out. You can go to this club, that club, whatever. And that it's kind of reined in. And, you mentioned this time of year. Well, this time of year, like, we're getting into Christmas, and I've heard horror stories from people out there who, their kids' Christmas was ruined because they, all their friends got the call to make whatever team it was, and they're crying on Christmas because they were the one kid on the team that, didn't get recruited or put on the A team, and I don't know. Valerie, what are your thoughts on that?
So that window thing to me is really interesting. I coached in Portland, Oregon, a few years ago, and they had a window, and it was, the thing is, it was agreed upon among the clubs. Nobody mandated it to anybody. It's like there were some level-headed people in the community of all these different clubs who said, what are we doing this for? Let's, we're trying to provide the best situation, and we all believe that we have the best situation, and so in order for us to be able to operate, we can't have this chaos. And so they got together and they created that window of opportunity, but they added an element. They agreed amongst themselves that they said, you are not allowed, so you go to the tryout, and then nobody is allowed to make any offers until the tryout window ends. And so the kids really do have an honest opportunity to look around and see what is the best place for them, what's the best fit for them, and they really do get to ask some important questions, and the families get to ask them and do some comparison and all that stuff. I thought it worked really well. I the whole time I coached there, I never felt stress about players. Like, I never felt like my team might fold on a moment's notice because another club is poaching us or trying to cherry pick from us. I never felt like, oh, geez, I wonder if we're going to be able to form this team, because we knew what was available, and we had honest feedback from the players. I get to California, I get to Santa Barbara, and the thing about Santa Barbara is there is that element of like trying to create those winning teams, but there's this other combo element of and I struggle with this, like, of dad coaches coming out of the AYSO All-Star program, having been a volunteer coach, having had a wonderful relationship with their team because they're going to all these tournaments and has a wonderful relationship with their daughter, and they want to continue that. But as they try to continue that, in order to then exist in the club world, they've got to somehow try to figure out where they're going to get players. So it's all about who they know, and they go to the church, and so they form these teams under the friendship relationship element, which I don't think should be discounted. But then as they do that, then they get these kids who have this sense of obligation. And then when some players leave and look elsewhere, they're left without a place to play, and the dad is not able to maintain the team. And so then he looks for how can he get this team, and he's not bound by any. There's nothing that binds him. There's no ethics that binds him. He's part of there's a club up here in Santa Barbara that is by up I mean north in Santa Barbara that is I call it a fiefdom, because it's just these little tiny little fiefdom teams that are not, there's zero oversight,
Right.
and they get to go in, and the thing is, like, they at their meeting, they explicitly said there's a window of opportunity, and you can actually invite players from a team within the same club.
Right.
But
So
a question though, why when it comes down to recruiting, why are we recruiting? And that's the thing. I mean, we start teams, we do this, we do that, but why are coaches recruiting? And then what's that got to do with the development of the players? And have we missed the point as coaches?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to your point on that, I mean, you mentioned the buzzword development, and to me, all the studies show development. It's not a straight line. It doesn't happen overnight. You're gonna have kids at every different level, and we as a soccer community throw around the word development over and over and over again. Yet many of us, slash and burn our rosters and then go try to recruit the next best kid that somebody else, quote unquote, developed. So, for me as a DOC, I stood in front of our parents this past fall and said, yeah, I want to win, but I really don't care about winning. I'm not grading our coaches, or I'm not evaluating my staff on how much we win. I'm rating my staff on player retention, because to me,
Yes.
if we retain our players and they're with us and they're having a good experience and the team's improving and they're improving, that's to me, that's what development looks like. How many players do you have in your club that have been there 4 years, 5 years? And there's not a lot of that going on. A lot of times people are just looking for the next best thing, and
And it's not the players, it's the parent.
well, the players sometimes get drug along
Mm-hmm.
with the parent, but I mean, yeah, you're right, and I think that's where there are a lot of good coaches out there. There are a lot of good clubs, and I think we just have to find our way back to, what are we doing this for? We're doing this for the kids, and we have to stay true to our personal philosophies about what are we in the game for, and are we just a soccer club, or are we a learning center? Like, what do we care about? And I think that right now, soccer is at a critical moment, and we need to do something about the recruiting within Cal South, whether it's getting like-minded directors together and coaches and say, what are we going to do? Because I've brought it up, and I've had people say, well, you can't enforce it. To me, that's an excuse. If we all came up with a proposal and an outline or something and presented it and said, hey, let's agree to do this because it's for the betterment of the kids, if someone's not willing to do that, then to me, they're in it for the wrong reasons.
There's a lot of people in it for the wrong reasons. And I'm lucky enough to have met you a few years ago, and I think we have the same philosophy within the game. I think a big challenge is where we are in the world. That it is Southern California, and Southern California has created this huge money monster within the game. Whereas you go to other countries, I mean, the coaches in England don't get paid. There's no club soccer in England.
Right.
You kick a ball against the wall, you join your local team, and it's one team. It's your team. It's not a team within a club and there's 20 teams in that club. It's your team. You go and find a field from the local council. You find a school to practice at, and then that team has, we had four. I think there was 4 teams. Mansfield Rovers,
Right.
and there was 4 teams, 4 different age groups, and that was it. And we didn't even consider ourselves a club. Yes, at the end of the year we had a end of season party. That was that. But the money was minimal, and the coaches didn't get paid. And now you've got these money-making machines where you have a tournament that creates $250,000 for, and that everyone's so serious about the game. The parents are serious. The coaches are serious. We got directors of coaching. What the hell? We're paying someone $50,000 a year to be a director of coaching of what? And by the way, I hope I get that job this week, right? But it's
Yeah.
and our best players, whether they be girls or boys, a lot of them can't even afford to go and play for a club. They don't know that there's scholarships given away. They don't know that there is a way in. And we're missing out on being able to develop some of our best players because it's become such a huge business now that it's scary, and and because of that, now coaches feel under pressure to win, and then because of that, they go and recruit, and the development goes out the window because all they want to do is win, and it's just this big monster. And Kerry, you're so right. We need to come together and go, what's best for the kids? What's best for the game, right? That these kids are playing. And know that the game gives you more. When we're developing players, we're developing people. And the game teaches you that, and the coaches around you and the parents around you, the referees, the respect. It's non-stop. And we got to kind of stop everything now and go, all right, we're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, we need we need to hit the reset button and say, whoa for a second. Why are we here? What are we doing? How can we how can we stop the madness a little bit? You know, 'cause
I think what's interesting is that since I've started this, and this was I've been doing this for between 25 and 28 years. Don't do the math on that, but so
Too late.
As far as how
it's all good. We're experienced. Remember, we're experienced. We're not old. We're experienced.
Exactly. But this conversation has it's like it's been the same. I mean, I think, you know, maybe the idea of the win at all costs came about, you know, in the beginning of when I was, but it's still going on. And so it seems to me like nobody's quite come up with a strategy yet to take this on. And I think it's definitely about the money and stuff. But I think that we're missing it because we keep every new generation of parents that come through. For example, we have to re-educate them in terms of like sideline behavior. It just recycles itself, and at some point there's got to be like a cultural shift in what it is we're trying to get from this youth soccer experience or this youth sport experience.
What are you trying to get, Darren? What are you, when you get up every day and you step out on the field, and we're so blessed and lucky enough to be in this beautiful game and getting paid and just having nothing but fun, what do you want to get out of it?
Well, I am affirmed every day that I see a girl express herself with confidence. So there is a lot of, like, it's not as altruistic as it sounds. So like since I started this club, I have not received a paycheck for coaching. Or for any administration. This has been, a labor of love for sure. But there's nothing altruistic about it, because the reward for me is, and anybody I think that works with kids knows this, you get some immediate gratification, because if you spend any time with kids and you spend time with them intentionally trying to elevate them, elevate their confidence, elevate their skill level, elevate anything about them, is if it's just, you're just throwing positivity at them, and you get immediate feedback. And and sometimes it's challenging, but always it's rewarding. And because of that, you see kids grow. And it's so yes, the word development can be overused, but when you're actually out there on the field, you can run a single session, and it's a single exercise, and that single exercise can resonate with a kid, and you see them, whether it's confidence, whether it's competence, it's something like that. And when I see that moment, I get like an adrenaline rush that lasts me for hours. It is, and so it's. For me, I want to get that reward.
So you're not like coaching to put that you won such and such a tournament on your resume and list every single ever medal you won as a kid and or as a coach, like some people do, because
right. But let's be honest. I enjoy winning. I mean, part of some of the stuff that I researched is why. How do women coaches balance the importance of life skills, teaching life skills, and winning, the importance of winning, and how do they balance those two things? Because they seem mutually exclusive to me. And right. Every woman to a person, these were high school female coaches, they all said to me that trying to win was a life skill. And I was so thrown by that, because for me, winning was, it couldn't have been like it was the least important thing to me in my coaching. But as a player, as an athlete, I was driven by that. It's why I stayed in the game. I wanted to be part of that. If I didn't score a goal in a game, I was a jerk. and and it didn't matter if our team won. I was not a pleasant person to be around, and so I had a lot to learn on that. But they all said trying to win was an important part of their coaching, and I've kind of taken that back and said, yeah, I see that, and because I also see that when the girls try to win, they exude that energy, and then they lose. It's like, oh, okay, there's some teachable moments here. There's some lessons that we can talk about, and it's not until they start to want something and they struggle through it that then they say like, oh, okay, I gotta problem solve, and I'm still working on that. That's one thing that I'm not getting out of the girls is they're not problem solvers, and it's frustrating the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But,
let's be honest. Within any game, you're always trying to win. So it's how you go about it. Ironically, I pulled off. We were talking about winning. I pulled off something from Changing the Game project, and it was a study that George Washington University did recently, and it listed like some reasons why kids play, and then why things are fun. And the top 5 reasons were trying your best, when a coach treats a player with respect, getting playing time, playing well together as a team, getting along with your teammates, and 6 was exercising and being active. And less fun, these are a study of kids. Less fun, number 48 was winning, because it wasn't really a priority over playing. 63, playing in tournaments was less fun. So we as coaches drag our kids to tournaments, and kids list playing in tournaments.
Tournaments are a waste of time. They're a waste of money. They're so overrated.
And this is another thing. Less fun, number 66, practicing with specialty trainers and coaches. 67, earning medals or trophies. 73, traveling to new places to play. 81, getting pictures taken. So kids hate getting pictures taken after the games.
So don't win, and you don't get your picture taken.
Well, maybe
so my team's right up there.
Well, maybe it's because all of us adults want to put it all over Instagram and Facebook all the time and stand there and say how wonderful our kids are.
So I have a flip on this, and so I would love your take on these. Is that so? As a new club, we're not coming out of the gates with superstar. So most of the girls that are part of our club have either been, marginalized from another club, have never. It's not that they've never played, but they've not played club soccer, so this is like their first time in club. So the learning curve of being in a competitive environment has been hard. So we had a team. So for 2 years, they've the first year they didn't win and they didn't score a goal, and then they at the end of the season they won their first game,
right.
And which is like isn't that the ideal story, right? And then the next year, which is this year, they didn't win a game, but they're actually scoring goals now. And then at the end of the season, they win a game. So they spend a lot of time losing.
Right.
And so we always talk about like, oh well, they don't want to. Winning isn't important to them. But nobody's asking these kids what it feels like to lose, and do they really want to be on a losing team? And I think that we do need to teach them some competence in this skill to keep them in the game.
Valerie, hold
Yeah.
that thought, right? Because we're going to go a commercial break right now.
Cool.
And it is, you know what? It's a good time to think about it. Because talking about the winning and losing, my team lost 28-0 every game just about when I was a 10-year-old. Think about that. We'll be back in a few.
okay. I kind of liked it. It was all right. Well, welcome back to Women Talking Football. Oh, women and Dutchie. So you qualify.
No, it's women talking football.
Women Talking Football. Show about women and the impact and influence that we can have on the world's most beautiful game. Before the break, Dutchie, you brought up winning. So, the funny story, my mom a couple months ago sent me a couple of boxes and from my childhood, and I opened them up, and in there were all my medals and ribbons that I had won when I was a youth athlete. And I sat there kind of like thinking and taking it all in, and it's like, that's kind of where they go. When you get older, the medals are just...
No, not mine.
Where are yours? In your house? Do you like have your medals?
I could walk in the door now and show you every single one of them.
You have all your medals from your youth?
Yeah, hell yeah.
You didn't win any, or you only won a few?
I average 5 or 6 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still have them?
Yeah.
Really?
Found them in a box once and went, you know what?
I'm gonna hang them up.
They're trophies. They used to give you little trophies. And yeah, I put them in. I ended up getting a big entertainment center, cabinet, and there was nothing to put in them. And I'm like, And then I opened this box, and there they all were, just like you. I opened it up, and there was all these medals and trophies. And I'm like, you know what? It was just when I was starting to coach, and I was all like, so into the game again. I'm like, yeah, let's get them out. And my kid wanted to see them all,
Right.
and she was so excited to see them, and it kind of inspired her to play.
Yeah.
And nothing's moved in the house ever since.
So along that lines, what are your guys' thoughts on participation trophies and everything?
No.
Nah. Valerie?
No.
Nah.
No,
Why?
I it feels very spoiled. I don't know.
Do you think it's
Let's
affected
just
the kids
enjoy.
today? Do you think it affects the kids today and their expectations and things like that? Or do you think the trophies and medals are for the parents?
I think it's the parents trying to keep, like they just have so much joy seeing their kids be happy and giving them something. You see a lot more happiness in them, and instead of just learning the intrinsic value of playing.
Yeah, I did it. I do my summer camps, and I remember the first time I did a camp out here in California, and I don't know why it was different than my experiences in the Midwest. I don't know if there's that vast of differences, but I was doing a camp, and the last day, all these kids came over to me and said, "Well, what do we get?" And I was like, "You get a high five and a thank you for coming to camp." Like, I don't know, what do you want? A cookie, like a medal or something? It was funny. It wasn't just one kid. It wasn't just one kid. It was like, "Well, what do we get now?" Well, high five. Hopefully you picked up something. Maybe your Cruyff is better or something. But yeah, they wanted something. Whether I don't know.
I mean, I certainly
don't give out participation trophies or certificates.
No, I certainly don't mind that if you go to a camp or you go somewhere that everybody gets a T-shirt.
Oh yeah, I give T-shirts
to remember being there.
I'm not that cheap. I get T-shirts.
But you know what?
You get a nice T-shirt.
To get a trophy, to get a medal, earn it. Be first.
Yes.
Win it.
Yes.
Win it. Simple
Yes.
as that.
Yes.
And I it's funny when you said, you open a box and there's all your medals. Why did you win medals? Why did I win medals? Because I was the best player and I played for the best team, which is where the best players are going to end up as a natural progression in life, in sport, right? If you start off as a 10-year-old and you're just okay, and as an 11-year-old you get better, right? You're going to go to a better team. That's what we're talking about when we talk about developing a player. You can't develop a good player on a bad team, and you can't develop a bad player on a good team. So we have to find a spot for them. So the good players should end up on the better teams, and then you're going to win medals. And then you're going to go, if we develop in the game the right way, they're going to go in towards, in this country, colleges, right?
Right.
And whether it be boys or girls, and depending on your level, and we know there's a lot of bias going on, so some players not so good will end up on better teams and the other way round. And then it gets to, we're watching the World Cup and there's players that someone coached somewhere. And that's the natural progression. right? So where does winning come into it? You're a DOC, and,
Yep.
and you said a minute ago, I don't grade it on winning.
I don't grade the coaches on
You
winning.
don't grade the coaches on winning.
No.
And I had a DOC who said the same thing. I don't grade you on winning. And then he sent out an email saying, okay, so you should be training 3 times a week now instead of 2 times a week, right? How many games have you won? And I sent an email back. There was a group email saying I thought winning didn't matter. And there was silence because there is, these DOCs do put pressure on coaches to win, and the parents do, and not enough coaches stand up and go, it's not about winning. But you know, when you do that, the parents look at you and go, why is my kid on your team then? Why am I going to play for you? Do you get that?
Yes, I mean, you get that. I think, you have to kind of create your own environment a little bit. And I've been at, multiple clubs, and every club philosophy is a little bit different. And I think that the key thing, for coaches is finding a fit that works with what your philosophy is. If what your values and beliefs as a coach are not in line with the place that you're working at, then it's not a good fit for you. And I think a big part of coaching these days isn't just the on the field stuff. It's also, engaging with the parents, not managing the parents, but engaging with the parents and making sure that there's good communication and trying to get the buy-in of, your belief in, hey, here's where the team's at. This is what I'm going to work on. I believe in development. We're gonna win, we're gonna lose, we're gonna be somewhere in between. And I think if you can set the expectations and manage the expectations, no, is everyone gonna be happy all the time? No, absolutely not. But it's also our job to not just ignore the parents and say, get out of my face. Like we have to share what we're doing with their kids. And if you're consistent with it, if you build it, they will come. Is kind of, how I think about it.
I couldn't agree more. I think the parents are a bigger part of the game than everyone realizes. That if you don't have the parents, you've lost your team. Whereas, I mean, if I've got a team of 14-year-old girls, there's no politics for them. There's their parents who are running. If I can get their parents on my side, I got a successful team, or I got a successful base for a team at least. I think the parents create more problems than anyone, but I agree with you. That's down to the coach to make sure that those parents are informed and know what we're aiming at in the big picture.
Yeah, and then as the kids get older and age, I mean, I also coach high school as well, and I try to set the expectation with the high school players and the high school parents right away. And my role as a high school coach is to help the girls become advocates for themselves. So I meet with the parents, lay everything out in a meeting, and then I go through the kids for everything because the kids are playing with me. They're playing for me. So I need to teach those young women how to talk to adults properly and not, let parents fight their battles for them. So, and it's worked so far. So far, knock on wood, hopefully. And I think that as coaches, that's our role too, is to prepare kids for real life. When the field goes away and the X's and O's go away, can they do a college interview and have that confidence that Valerie was talking about, and can they learn how to talk to a boss and negotiate a contract and stand up for themselves or whatever it may be. It's not how good you can kick a ball and how many goals you score. It's those life skills that were mentioned earlier.
I love the fact that you're doing this show, right? Because when we were in San Diego recently, right?
Oh, we? Yeah.
We,
yeah.
me and you,
oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Me and you, right?
I was like, okay, when was I in San Diego?
And I sat and watched you, and tell me what the other lady was with, what her name was.
Carla.
Right?
From Arizona.
And you two were just like scary. Like really scary.
Why? Why was I scary, Dutchie?
Because you were so
scary.
Yeah. And that's what surprised me. It's like, hang on, this is Kerry Taylor. And you were so, like, defending and women in soccer. Like, just, like, there was nothing that was going to be said. You remember that night?
Yeah.
You sure you do?
No, was that when we were at the dinner table?
When we were at the dinner table, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I do remember that. So the conversation was, I was talking to a male club coach, and I asked him how many women he had in his club, and his response back to me was, they don't have the temperament for it. And then we went.
And then it went.
You looked at me and you went,
Whoa.
oh, you just said the wrong thing to the wrong person. And then he referred to me as a girl, so that like spun it even more. And
Yeah,
I had
you
to
girls.
I had to correct him about, I'm 44 years old. I'm not a girl. I'm a woman. So that's my own private thing. But yeah.
But your passion for women in the game is beyond. It's so fantastic, And I came from a background where there wasn't a woman who I didn't know a girl who kicked a ball, not one.
Right.
When I left the UK in '91, so the whole women's thing was so new to me. I had zero respect for women's soccer because there was none. It was taught to me that it should be men and men only. It was a boys' game. And I came here and very quickly, the first time I realized that I needed to show some respect was when a woman put me just like on my ass playing in a co-ed game. I'm like, wow. And they can play,
They can play. Yeah.
They can play.
We can play.
You can play, and then I got into coaching and I had a daughter. So,
Right.
yeah, what does daddy do? My daughter wants to play the game. And I started coaching. And my journey through then and meeting you, and I met you when you were actually my instructor.
Yeah. How'd you like that? Did that catch you off guard?
Yeah, I went, oh my God, I got a woman. I got a girl.
I got a girl.
Right.
I had a girl teacher.
One of the things that you said, and you said it a few times, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you get out there and you show you can do it, you earn the respect. And but when I met you, I already had respect for the women's game.
Right.
I had total respect for you the moment we stepped on a field. First of all, because you were an amazing coach.
Well, thank you.
You showed what you could do as a coach. I've never seen you play,
No?
No.
I don't play much anymore.
Obviously, I know you can. But
I run
you
straight
did
ahead.
what you did.
I run marathons now.
But that's what we've got to get into the game. And through meeting you, I am a huge advocate to try and get women into the. And it's difficult to get them into the sport. It's difficult to find. That's what I said earlier. Where are they going to come from? Where are they? Let's get them in. And that's a challenge.
It is. I mean, yeah, it definitely is a challenge. And as a woman, sometimes I think, well, maybe other females are smart enough not to put up with all the crap that's in the game, and maybe I'm just like just a glutton for punishment sometimes. But no, I mean, whatever your passion is, whatever the sport is, and I think there's a huge movement, not just within soccer but within all female sports. I think within the past year and a half, and there's so much talk about women and how wonderful we are as coaches and as athletes, and with the U.S. women winning the World Cup in 2015 was just a fantastic event. And I mean, I went to the World Cup match, and it was I'm so glad I did. It was
in Canada. Was it in Canada?
It was in Canada. Yeah, my mom lives in Portland, and I flew to Portland and saw my mom, and then I drove up the day of the game, saw the game, drove back, and I mean it was top 5 experiences just to see it, to be there, and just to celebrate how awesome it is. However, the women will go on this are paid less than the men's national team. So I mean that we could spend hours on equal pay for equal work and all the battles that
I don't
are
think
being
it's
fought currently.
Dallery,
Yes.
is the women's game discriminated against?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of media, in terms of coaching salaries, all across the board.
Yeah. Klingsman
Most
made like
definitely.
lot more money than Jill Ellis does, unfortunately. Don't know why. She's got World Cup title.
Can I argue with you? Hell yeah, I can. WTF, right?
Hey,
So to me,
you can argue away. Just doesn't mean
probably
you're
be
gonna
the
win.
last show I'm on.
It doesn't mean you're gonna win.
No, I don't. It's not a win. It's not a win or lose situation. It's you know, why does the coach of the men's team earn more? Because it brings in more money, whether it's in the US, whether it's in England. Hang on. Hear me out real quick, right?
All right.
Media. If you put and I'll take. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Put a women's game on TV. Put the men's game on TV.
Wrong.
What creates?
I'm gonna be Trump. Wrong. Women's World Cup had more viewers
Why?
than the men's World Cup
Why?
did.
And this is an American thing. Why?
Why?
Because they won. If America wins at anything, everyone in the country jumps on the bandwagon and watches it, right?
Within.
So let's take the USA.
No, the past year, the attendance for the women's friendlies has been like astronomically higher than for the men this year. You can check the stats. I don't know it. But,
I believe you.
But the butts in the seats were much higher. The
But
women
also,
are
I think
on par to bring in $5 million for U.S. soccer this year, and the men are going to lose money. So
then you have a true argument as to the coach of that team and that organization, right? Because it's an entertainment industry that's based on pay. You get paid because the money that's coming in and out, right? So you have a really valid argument that coach should get paid more than the other coach, or at least equal. If you go around the world, though, right? So I'm talking generally in any sport, whether it's men's sport, women's sports. You know, who gets paid is based on media, advertisements that come in, money that comes in, and asses in the seat.
right.
You know, so generally, I'll say I understand why the men's game, the Premier League in England against the women's Premier League, can't argue with it. You know, probably in every country, the USA has had women's soccer, and they won the World Cups 20, 30 years ago. Every World Cup, it was either the USA or China. That no one else could compete. You knew the two teams who were going to be in the final. Yeah, it's changed now. Now there's real competition. Women around the world play. So women's World Cups for sure now are definitely more interesting. The USA as a country, it could be any sport. I don't care what it is. It's the most fanatical country in the world to jump on and follow a team that's going to win any world title.
Okay.
So, is the women's game discriminated against? Yeah, hell yeah. Right? Certain things is just, to me, is just, it's created from the dollars that come in.
Do you think it's the time, like the number of years that, you know, U.S. men's national team's been around a little bit longer than the women's national team? Do you think it's just going to take some more time?
I think it's going to take some more time. Me and you were talking in the break about, I said how many women are involved in the MLS. And it was just like throwing it out there. But then you kind of shocked me when you went, forget MLS, in the women's, how many head coaches in the women's?
In the NWSL, Laura Harvey is the only
female
coach.
It's wrong. It's just, so how do you change that?
If I knew, I'd be a millionaire by now. If I had the magic formula, I'd be like selling it out there. You know, again, I mean, it goes to who's making the decisions. Are women, you know, putting their resumes in for those top level jobs? And, you know, they've done some studies, and I've heard talks saying that, you know, men will apply for jobs when they know they're not qualified, but they'll put their name in anyway, whereas women won't apply for a similar job because they feel they're not qualified because they don't tick all the boxes. So, I mean, it could be, are women going after those jobs, or are they...
Both you and Dallery are A-licensed coaches.
Correct.
Right.
There's 4 female A-licensed coaches in all of Cal South, and you're talking to 2 of them.
Wow. So
You're in good company.
I know
Dusty.
I am,
You're
yeah.
in really good company.
So, is it based on the owners of these clubs? Well, no, that wasn't the question. The question that went through my mind was you mingle with these women, right? You know all these women. You know the women who've got the A licenses. You know the top coaches. You travel around the country. I'm guessing you do as well, Dallery. Do you look at the women's league and go, "Oh my God, I know a coach who is way better than that dude there who's coaching this team"? Or is it based on merit that, you know what, there's not a woman coach who is better than the person in that job, whether it be man or women? Take gender out of it.
I am definitely not a supporter of sticking a woman in a job that she's not ready for or not prepared for. I'm not for, let's hire a woman, but I think there are some very high level quality female coaches out there that should and could be coaching the NWSL. Now, many of them are coaching in college, and there's probably a lot more job security in college, so maybe they're just
could be that, yeah,
smarter. Who knows? And they just want to, stay in their good,
comfortable environment, earning their half a million a year, because I'm sure they earn it.
Fairly safe with camps and, everything, the whole package, basically. Or do you want to take the risk and coach in the...
It would be a gutsy decision.
NWSL, yeah. So, to say, oh, yeah, we should mandate or it should be all women, I think there definitely should be more, and there are a lot of qualified women out there that could do the job. Dallery, what do you think?
I wonder in this process of having hired how many women actually, did apply. I mean, it would be really interesting to know if women actually applied and then they didn't hire them, because I think his question is pretty interesting about are there women out there that we can think of who would do better than the current coaches in the NWSL?
Yeah, and you got a good point. If they don't apply, they're not getting.
Right.
So that's a great. I would love to know how many women applied for those jobs and got turned down for some guy who's maybe not quite as qualified, but the owners are like, we need.
But I don't know. I also think back to Carrie's point a while ago, where she said it's one of her jobs is to go out and find women. Is in football they have the Rooney Rule, right? Which is to say that you cannot hire upper level NFL administrative positions unless you have a candidate of color. So, that Rooney Rule is, I think, would be very interesting if we could apply that to women and coaches of color as well.
Right. I think it would also be interesting to see if women are out there applying for college men's jobs. I did, but I only did so because I had a friend who knew someone in the athletic department, and he basically pushed me like kicking and screaming to send in my resume. So you wouldn't have done it if he hadn't have? Not at the time. I was teaching high school and I was coaching high school, and I had been a college Division I assistant. But yeah, I wouldn't have done it had a male friend of mine push me towards it.
Cool. We got another phone call.
Oh, awesome.
Mike, put him through.
Hi, who do we have on the line?
No, hold on one second.
No problem.
And by the way, you're listening to Kerry Taylor.
Hey.
On chaoticradio.com. 909-360-8330 if you do want to call in.
I'm excited we have a phone call. Hi, who's on the line?
I'm Simon Allen. Just got a quick email from a friend of mine, said you need to watch this, so I'm watching it and listening to you guys. Very good topic. I was the play-by-play announcer for the LA Blues for a while, and I've been working in women's soccer for about, 10 years, and I coached a semi-pro women's adult team, and now I'm in kind of the same boat you're in, where I'm coaching like little kids, little girls, and just sort of wanted to ask you about, like, if you got an A license and you're not really working in the top level, isn't it really due to the fact that the top level is not really paying as well as college anyway. So why even put yourself out there when you can get a nice cushy job in college? And also, it's who you know in America, not necessarily just how much you know. So it's like it's not really sexism. I just wanted to put it out there. It's more just like the folks who are really qualified aren't out there and aren't well known enough to be in the top ranks.
Yeah, I mean, Simon, thanks for calling in and really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, to your point, college jobs are very secure, and that could very well be why there might not be more women or just high quality coaches out there applying for those. And I agree with you. It is kind of who you know and timing of everything. And people tend to hire people that they trust a lot of the time. But I will say, if you look at club and or college structure, those people that are making the final decisions, the boards, the DOCs, if women aren't really highly represented in there, chances are, that final decision isn't necessarily going to be like, hey, let's hire a woman. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm not here to bash men or anything like that by any means, but and that's why I said, like, I think it's important those of us that are in key roles that can be the decision makers need to really do our due diligence and reach out, to different types of people in the game. So
were you coaching?
Just add that, very, very recently, 4 or 5 years ago, I had my arm twisted and I was hoodwinked to coach, little girls, like your co-host. And I got to tell you, it's been more rewarding than coaching men and women. It's just been something new every day. So I hope you coach for a long time.
I love that. What makes it so different to you? Because I love hearing that.
Well, I figured out a long time ago that I have more patience for children than I do for grown people. Because if a little kid is like, if you ask a little kid, hey, did you take that piece of candy? And they say no, and you just say, hey, did you take that piece of candy? And they say yes, you just know they're just kids, that they don't know any better. Right. You sort of encourage them that way. But with a grown adult does that, you're like, come on, you're a grown adult. And so the patience level grew and grew and grew with children. And I hope in the future I'll be a lot more patient with, when I go back to coaching adults.
Right. What age are you coaching now, Simon?
Under 10 and under 12, and next year under 14. So it'll be three different levels. But I coached a women's team called Elephant and Castle Football Club, or Elephant and Castle Ladies Football Club here in LA, and it was my introduction to women's soccer, and I haven't looked back since. That's
awesome. We need quality coaches, both male and female, and personally, I think a lot of high, quote unquote high level coaches, they always want to coach the older players, and personally, I think the best coaches should be coaching the younger kids, because that's where a majority of all the learning takes place. So
definitely agree with you.
So kudos to you.
Oh man, I've got nothing but respect for anyone who coaches under 10s. I don't,
Yeah, when you did your national youth license with me, poor Dutchie was here, and he had recreational 8-year-olds.
Oh, keep him away from me.
And he was like, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't coach these kids. I can't do it. And I had to talk him through. I was like, yes, you can. You can do it. And he was wonderful.
So, Simon, I mean, the big thing, this is our very first show, Carrie's very first show.
Woohoo.
And it's WTF, Women Talk Football, women in football, women in general, You're coaching kids. You have an A license?
I have an A license, but I didn't even have a license when I was coaching the ladies team. So I didn't even need a license. The person that was hiring just said, "Oh, I like your I like your accent, and I know you've played before."
As they do.
And he was right. And let me go ahead and give you this particular job, and I loved it. And then after that, I got involved with women's soccer a lot. I was the play-by-play announcer for the in the W League, and then it just grew and grew. My love for it just grew. It's not a different game. It's the exact same game, which is different people in it, and they're all qualified in there. And the game, it has finesse and skill and strength, and I look at people who say, well, it's the women's game, it's different. I go, yeah, it kind of is. It may be a little bit different, but deep down, it's actually tougher, rougher, more skillful, can be faster. You just got to sort of sit back and relax and watch the game like you would if you were watching Swansea and Liverpool or something.
So how do you
Simon, you're amazing. Thank you for calling.
Carrie's clapping. She's like,
I'm
yeah.
clapping. I'm like,
How do you get women? How do you transition those women from players to coaches?
Well, that's the tough part. I mean, well, I'd sort of add that I've had a soccer podcast in America for about 11 years now, and I talk about it all the time. And part of the problem is that you have to tell women who are soccer players that when you're and I do this every year. I say little girls can only go so far when they look up to a guy like me as a coach. What they need is a female role model who's going to show them, like, in 5, 6, 10, 15 years where you can be.
Yep.
And that sort of higher calling can get to some of the women coaches to essentially sort of try their hand in coaching at whatever level. And it's something that I face every year. I've been facing every year. I ask my friends who are women soccer players to come and coach just 1 or 2 sort of training sessions, because I don't want a 10-year-old girl to look at like a big, fat, hairy coach and say, well, that's my future. I don't want to do it. They want to look at a girl and say, hey, you know, that girl is now champion with USC. I can be that in 10 years.
Right. Well, if you ever need me to come out and do a session, I'll do a session for your team.
All right, you're on.
Okay, done.
Don't have to twist my arm.
Done. We'll connect afterwards. But.
Okay.
Simon, thanks for calling, man. I appreciate it. Spread the word.
My pleasure. I'll keep watching. It's a great show. Keep it up, please.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon.
My pleasure.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Interesting.
That made me so happy.
I can tell, yeah.
I'm like, yes. I'm excited.
You know, it is. One of the things he said, you know, I said I'd never coach girls, and I went to coach them first time about 6 years ago. The pleasure from them is 10. You can't even compare it to the boys, because, first of all, the girls learn quicker. They seem to try.
They're more open-minded.
Yeah,
I think.
for sure.
They're not as...
And they enjoy the game more. They seem to enjoy life more. At that, you know, it's both times I've coached them. It's been U14, U15, and they seem to enjoy it more. You know, they seem to enjoy the ups of it more, the downs of it more. Sometimes, you know, we talked earlier about winning.
Right.
There's nothing better than winning. Come on.
I agree. I'm one of the most competitive people out there. However, there's ways to win, and I think that
there's ways to win from coaches. There's ways to win from the players themselves. You know, and my biggest challenge on the girls' side is getting them to always compete at whether it doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're the lowest level or the highest level, but actually give everything you got. You know, that's always been my challenge with the girls, not the boys.
Yeah, Dallara, you were mentioning. Are you still there?
Oh, yes.
You were mentioning with one of your girls' teams getting them to compete recently. I think that you were struggling to like get them to have that killer instinct. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's like we've done so much bashing, not just us here, but of winning that sometimes we forget that parents and players, they're actually afraid of losing more than they are of like winning is everything, and they're just so fearful of that sadness, because like what you were saying about these girls having an immediate reaction and an immediate feedback from them. It's like when they lose and they're unhappy. I mean, no parent wants to see their child unhappy. So I think we just, and we're worried that if they're losing, that maybe they're not growing or they're not developing, because, you know, why are we putting them in the wrong competitive environment? And so I always struggle with this, like, okay, yeah, I'm de-emphasizing winning, but am I putting them in an appropriate space where they're not losing? Because losing can't always be good.
Yeah, losing's definitely not fun, but if I think there's times like if it's a brand new team and you know you've got a group or or you've just moved up in a division and you're going to have a struggle, I think, you can kind of prep the players and try to struggle through a little bit. Have you ever had a season where you didn't win a game?
As a player, yeah.
As a
not
player?
not as a coach.
Not as the coach?
No.
We've had
we
teams
won one.
now in the club that haven't won any games,
Right.
and it's you stop and wonder. It's like, am I? And I'm not in control over where they play. If I was in control over where they play, it's the league is already predetermined for us. So if I could, and that goes back to that recruiting discussion too, is if I could just make my own pool of players and do my thing, and I could put them in an appropriate place where everybody was growing. Instead, I'm being told where I play and who gets to play at what age, and so they tell me, this kid plays at this age group, and I'm like, yeah, but maybe this kid would actually play better in a more appropriate age group, but I don't have control over those things. So we've had teams that have lost a lot of games.
Right. Talk to me. We're going to spin it a little bit here. Dutchie, question: who is your best coach and why?
My best coach
your
ever?
most memorable coach that you had and why? Put you on the spot. Boom. There you go. On the spot. Best
I don't
coach.
remember his name.
What? How can you not remember your best coach's name? Your favorite coach's name?
No, you said best coach, not favorite coach.
Well, okay. So, your most memorable coach. How about that? And
Glenn
why?
Johnson.
And why?
He was my first coach when I signed as a youth player at a professional team, and he not only taught you how to play, and try and get you ready to play in a professional league, and it was brutal. He was the goalkeeper of the first team, right, and he was the youth coach, but he was so much fun. He made the game so much fun.
There it
right?
is.
He had the best sense of humor, right? And he picked up on the players who had that sense of humor as well. Because the Brits we're big practical jokers, right? Don't give it if you can't take it.
The banter.
Yeah, and it was just unbelievable. And I was a punk at the time, right? I mean, I had the piercings in the ears and the nose and the orange hair and all that kind of stuff, But I was also once I stepped out onto the park, I was the ultimate competitor, and so was he, and he picked up on that. And I was the smallest player on the team, and he made me his captain. And just everything that he taught was just unreal how he could get players to play for him.
Right.
The
motivation.
Yeah, the motivational side of it through fun. So, yeah, Glenn Johnson. He was the goalkeeper at Aldershot Football Club.
Awesome. Valerie, what about you?
I didn't have great coaches. I think that's why I became a coach, because I said I was going to do a better job. But I did have a fabulous college coach, and it was the first time I had a woman coach, and it was 100% about the relationship. It was all about she cared about me more. She visited me in the hospital when I tore my ACL. She took me out for beers and to play pool before I was 21.
Oh,
There's my favorite coach right there.
You're dating yourself there when that stuff was actually like happening and acceptable.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
But I would have, I thought my life was over when I tore my ACL, and had she not been around, I would have never believed that I could have come back. And that was in a time when, you really couldn't come back after an ACL tear, because the rehab and the surgery was a much different process. And so, but I did. I was able to play after that, and it was entirely because of her, because of her support and her belief in me. So, she is why I became a coach, because I knew that we could do a better job.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What about yours, Kerry?
Mine, yeah. So I did have a lot of good coaches growing up, I think, and I will say my favorite coach is Linda Hamilton, who when I was in college at Michigan, we were a club team up until 1994 when we actually went varsity. But Linda was our club coach in 1993, and she was at the time on the women's national team and preparing for the Olympics. And she came in and we paid her, like, we had to fundraise money to pay her. And she just was this amazing coach and person who she made it fun. She worked our butts off, but at the same time she was training for the national team. So I got to see like what that true training every day, like running sprints on your own was like. And she held us to a killer high standard, but you know, she gave us everything she had, and we had so many laughs and so much fun. And I think she was with me on my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
as was the assistant coach.
Drinking beers.
Yeah, I was 21,
As opposed to being under 21.
I was 21 though, and you know you know, part of the reason I think I always knew I was going to coach, and part of the reason that I did go into coaching was she had a big impact on me, and the awesome thing is she's still coaching now. She's at a Division III school in Texas, and she's coming to visit me this weekend to take a look at players. And,
How cool.
And we still have a good friendship today. So Linda, if you're listening, or I'll send you the link, but thank you for inspiring me to be a coach. I
So
appreciate
you put so many things with your questions.
Yeah.
With all questions that come, whether it be from every angle, you know, and then it just triggers memories and it triggers things. Have you ever had a coach who truly believed in you when other people didn't, kind of thing?
I think, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think Linda was that person.
I'd say that
to be
because you triggered a memory of a coach, and then at the same time when I took over my girls' team, and it was a sad situation. I didn't realize it was even there. I took over the girls' team last year,
right.
U14s at the time, and went to our first tournament and played a girl and didn't realize that she had been, and I already told you this story, that she had been the previous coach for the year before every single practice and didn't play 1 minute.
Oh yeah, you did tell me about that.
Right, and then I took over the team and we went to the tournament. I played her, and at the end of the weekend, the parents and the kid came up to me almost with tears in their eyes. And I said, I believe it. And I told the kids, I believe every single one of you. I've seen your training sessions. Every single one of you is good enough to play on this team. If you weren't, then I would find you somewhere else to play.
Right.
And for 3 months, she played for me. And then because of the age changes, she was one of the players who had to move to another team. And her and her parents, again, came crying, actually tears in their eyes, saying, you have inspired me to play. And no, even though you're not my coach now, I want to play. I love this game. And I had a coach who did that to me once, after I'd broken a leg a few times. And it was funny that we were playing in one of the biggest six-a-side tournaments in the country. And we got to the final. And two great teams. And I was probably at the time, without doubt, the worst player on our team. And we got to the final and my coach said, you're playing, and you're playing for one reason. You're the best man-to-man marker I've ever seen. And the guy that I had to mark the previous year had played in the European Cup Winners' Cup final for Aberdeen under Alex Ferguson. And everyone went, oh.
Like, good luck with that one.
Good luck with that one. And the guy barely touched the ball.
That's awesome.
And afterwards, and it was my best friend's dad. His name was John Brogan. And kudos to John Brogan. He always thought I was the best player in the world. He was always drunk. But he was a coach that inspired that. And I put that back to the game now.
Well, and I think that's the true thing where where we started earlier tonight with this discussion is, what are we here for? We're here for the kids. We're here to make kids better. So, what we say to kids and how we say it, and, to have someone say, hey, I believe in you, it's everything. Dallery went to this event as well. We were at a LA 84 Foundation event recently, and there was a panel of Olympians, and then there was a panel of kids, and basically every single one of them had the message of I had a coach that believed in me. You know, I had someone that told me you could do it. You know, one of the panelists, it was amazing. It was this Lexi Gillette is the guy's name, and he's a blind long jumper, and he lost his sight like as a teenager or 8th grader or something, and he had a teacher at school that said, you can still participate. I will help you. I will train you. I will,
Wow.
help you. And now he's like a para-Olympian. He does the long jump, and he has a fantastic coach, because one person can inspire you to man mark like a phenomenal player. And I think that's where, coaching, yes, it's a profession, but it's a passion that a lot of us have. Some of us are in it for the wrong reasons. I mean, I'm not in it for the wrong reasons, but there are people out there that are in it for the wrong reasons. But the impact that we can have on kids goes beyond the one season, goes beyond the
it's lifetime.
yeah, absolutely. And it can be good or bad. So if there's, a crazy coach out there that's belittling kids and bullying, that can have, an awful impact on kids. So, I mean, we have a lot of power, and we need to make sure that we use it correctly.
Coaching, you inspired me big time.
I did?
Yeah.
Well, how did I do that?
Because you when I went to that one license with you,
Yeah?
I kind of was sent there. It wasn't a choice,
You had to go?
I didn't have to go, no, but I wanted to become a better coach. And the very first morning, you were, and I guess this is the way a national youth license is done. You said, every morning we're going to act like the kids, and in the afternoon we're going to teach the kids.
Right.
Right, and you made it so much fun, but you showed how much you knew about it. When I get at the end of those 5 days, I knew you then as a person.
Right.
And I was so inspired by 3 or 4 coaches over the first 5 years of my coaching, and it just getting back from the game, from what you put into the game. And I didn't realize I knew so much about football until people like you brought it out of me, and that's the inspiration that I hope I can give to coaches. I hope I can give to players, more coaches than the players. I know that I'm good. I'm not being big-headed. I know I'm good with players.
Right.
We got a lot of knowledge that we give back to the game, and it's fantastic that we're doing. I love the fact that you're doing this radio show, because I think in a different way we can give back to the game in a different way.
Well, thanks for allowing me to do the show on your station.
Oh,
I appreciate
so
it. I'm excited. This is awesome. And,
so am I.
And I hope people tune in every Wednesday, and we'll have awesome guests. And I'm mapping it out, and it's all about the game we all love, for sure.
U.S. national team.
Yeah.
Bruce Arena. Good or bad?
We'll leave that for another
No,
show. We'll leave.
I nearly said
Okay, short-term Okay, I'll go on the record. Short-term Band-Aid. We need a plan.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We need a plan. So that's my 2 cents on it right now.
Darren?
A plan would be great. A plan would be great.
I wish him the best. I wish
Anyone you got in mind? Anyone comes to mind that you think?
The funny thing is I was talking to a friend of mine, and when Klingsman, got let go, they did like a top 10 list of candidates, and I honestly couldn't get behind any of them. I don't know. I think we're just at a weird space. Like, I think we're in a weird transition period, and
forget their top 10.
I couldn't come up with like a better answer. I honestly.
How about a woman?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was looking at my Facebook little tweets here, and one of my former players said we need a woman coach in the men's national team. They might do better.
That could shake it out. They couldn't do worse, could they?
Hey. Well, again, I support both men's and women's national team, and I just think they're at a weird space, and we'll qualify.
You know what?
They'll qualify.
You better qualify. Three teams go through automatically out of 6, 50-50. Come on, and then the fourth goes to a playoff.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, hey, that'll be another topic. That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a whole show.
That's a whole
for
nother
sure.
show. I need content, so we can talk about that maybe next time. But how are we? Are we good? Are we good?
No, we got 5 minutes to wrap it up.
Minutes.
Yeah.
So, Dallery, any closing thoughts from tonight? Anything? Final thoughts?
I am so. I have to. I just have to reiterate that I did the National Youth License also with Carrie, and I was sitting. I know. I was sitting there just like pumping my fist, going, "Yes, yes, this is." Everything you said was, and that was my favorite license. I've done the Advanced National. I've done all the NSCA stuff. I've done now all the USSI. I haven't done any UEFA stuff, but the National Youth License was definitely my favorite. And Carrie powered through mine because I think she was sick during mine.
Probably.
And you wouldn't have known it. There was no. You would not have known it. It was just so incredibly professional and like you said, inspiring, and just incredibly comfortable with the kids, which I think, that quality and that leadership is I think it has a lot to do with the fact that she's a strong woman, and I think this is a great opportunity, and I'm really glad that she's doing this. And I am definitely looking forward to the future, conversations, because I think it's just going to spark a lot of, a lot of interest in people wanting to participate. So I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much for your participation, and so happy to have you on, and we'll have you on in the future. Dutchie, any
thank you
closing?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to sitting through the window there and not speaking and listening to you and your women. Right? I mean,
and men. An equal opportunity show, even though it's women talking football.
But it's there's so much involved in youth football, so much. From whether it's boys or girls, it really doesn't matter. Youth football is youth football. I don't think it's so much the participation with the players that we're talking about tonight. Is more I want to see more women coaching. I want to see more women at the licenses, because when they do come, like I said, I think the ones that come are the ones that are confident because they're good. They know they're good. Whereas any man shows up, and some of them you just wish you could tell them, dude, I'm not giving you a license. I'm not. You're useless. You're stupid. You have no clue of the sport and your impact on the sport and the impact on the players you could have. Whereas when a woman comes to an E-license, 90% of the time, she's a player.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell straight away. The first time they get we do our model sessions, and the ball goes to the girls, and boom, especially when it's the younger ones.
Right.
They're players. They know the game.
Right.
And I grew up in an environment where that did not happen. There was no such thing. So it's exciting for me as an instructor, especially to see the girls come, and then leave with a license. I want to see more of them, and I guess that's my biggest thing. Getting women into positions like you are now, Carrie, at Laguna United is, you know what? You care more about getting the women into the game, and it's a passion of yours, and it's you're going to make it happen. And we need to spread that so it's not just women in the DOCs that are doing that it's men as well.
Yeah.
I will never put a person in a position because of their gender. But I will definitely be looking out to get more women in the game because the game needs it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for everything tonight. And Thanks to everybody who tuned in on Facebook Live and who have listened in. Again, it's Women Talking Football. Follow us on Facebook at Women Talking Football, and also have an email, wtalkingfootball@gmail.com. So thanks, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Mike, I want to thank Mike in the booth.
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you.
It was
Good
a great
job.
show. Great show.